Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing today on Transformational Thursday? And again, it's another great day to be alive and another gift, not only to receive, but to give as well. And as always, you guys should know what that music is. Of course, the great John Williams, who's composed a lot of the Star Wars movies. And of course, you can't forget that very intro and everything. And that's where we're going to kick off this conversation today. And of course, what we'll be talking about today is Tales from Hyperspace, the path. What is our path? What does that look like? How does that look like to others? And maybe everything in between and everything. And I did mention it the other day, the kind of hidden thing that I was going to say why this was going to be mentioned as the path in and of itself. Uh, for those who are really into Star Wars, probably just like me, the path is actually something within the Star Wars lore. If you go to the most recent episode of uh, Obi-Wan, probably in third or fourth episode within that new series, um, there's a thing called the path. And the path is where, after Order 66 has taken place, and it's been some few years, the Empire has grown in numbers and everything has gotten taken more control of the galaxy. Um, what few remaining Jedi and people who are fighting along the Jedi, um, who wanted to just be left alone and wanted to survive and everything like that. Uh, they created this network of places that was like it's almost like the Underground Railroad for the Jedi, and this network of planets and systems and people who are coming together. Um, they are actually on this all journey together of the path. And in one scene in the Obi-Wan series, I forget which episode it is, Obi-Wan looks down and actually sees all these Jedi Knight lightsabers and robes, and um, sees all the writing on the wall, so to speak, because he's on this one particular planet. And for you guys who are really in depth within the lore of the path, uh, it was actually started by an unconventional Jedi, nonetheless. His name is Quinlan Voss, and you would probably get to know more about that in that book called Dark Disciple. Uh, and that tells you, and if you guys have now seen the new Tales of the Underworld, you will kind of see the correlation to that with the Sauce Ventress and everything. And that, and I won't, like I said, I won't give any spoilers away because of that. But like I said, Quinlan Voss started this path for the Jedi to actually go in peace, start a new life, and that kind of thing. But the thing that really got me, though, is like I said, when the Obi-Wan looked down and saw all these lightsabers in Jedi robes, for me, I didn't like that. And the reason why is because if they are true to their calling, they would have probably, in one way, shape, matter, or form, kept their robe, kept their lightsaber, and still lived within peace. And they knew that they could not only defend themselves, but they didn't have to necessarily cut themselves off from everyone else because of that, or again, starting new, so to speak, and everything like that. And some people that probably were okay with that. and everything. And I recognize that sometimes we do have to leave stuff behind to start anew and to be reborn. And that goes right into, again, if you go watch the first episode of Tales of the Underworld, you know what I'm talking about renewal and rebirth, so to speak. And like I said, I'm not going to give any spoilers away. But that's what we're talking about here today is what is our path? What does that path look like? What does that mean? And I was going to actually have a separate show about this, but because no one's on here as of yet, hopefully more people will jump on here in just a little bit. Um, I'm kind of going to share my little story of how Star Wars has really truly affected me in my life. Uh, for those who may not know who I am and what Star Wars has done for me. Um, as you guys may or may not know, I live in the great state of Florida. And the first time I saw Star Wars is when I was living in Kissimmee, Florida at the time. And of course, that comes out in 1977, so I knew exactly where I was. I remember that day vividly. We went into this movie theater and we saw it, and it just blew me away. And that's when I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker. Had to get the action figures, had to get the vehicles, had to get the movies, had to get the soundtracks, had to get all that kind of stuff. But then as Star Wars grew, not only in the fandom space, but more importantly, the culture space, I say to myself, if this first movie was any indicator that it was going to be something that I got to go watch the next one, I said I got to watch the next one. Of course, in 1980, The Empire Strikes Back came out, and I knew exactly where I was on that day too, as well, because my mother at the time dropped me off at Grove Park uh, Cinemas, and I saw The Empire Strikes Back not once but twice because she allowed me to say, "Hey, if you want to watch it twice, I'll just leave you here and you watch it twice," and that kind of thing. So I was there early in the morning, went to one showing, got something to eat, went to another showing. So I saw that movie twice in one day, and then I really got to see how interconnected the movies really were. But it's from its very outset, it really had a great, powerful message that there is this force that interconnects us and binds the universe together. And there's a force for good out there, and of course, there's going to be a force for evil out there. There's the dark side and everything. But in, like I said, in that year, 1980, that year was really a hard one for me because not only did I see The Empire Strikes Back, that's where my mother committed suicide in 1980. Three actually, 83. She actually committed suicide in 83, not 80, but it was a few years after that. So not 1980 through 1983 was still a real tough time for me because my parents were going through a divorce and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, my mother committed suicide in 1983, and that was a big thing for me because had to go take all that in. And of course, in 80, the Return of the Jedi came out too as well. That kind of helped me to a certain extent, but it really, 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 after I got out of, how should I say this? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was institutionalized for over 6, 7 months because my mother's suicide just really hit me hard. But like I said, once I watched all three movies, and the more I really start to see how things are woven in, because there's a message there without a doubt. There's so many messages within the Star Wars universe. It's not even funny. So I saw that there is so many things that we can learn from that. It's like Master Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. But when you really think about it, ladies and gentlemen, the very act of trying is in the very act of doing. So it's already there. And as Master Yoda said yet again, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And that really, really hit me hard. Especially, of course, when my mom passed away, like I said, the way she did. Because I was suffering a lot. And, but once I got out of that suffering stage, and of course, I had, like I said, I went to counseling, and like I said, I was institutionalized for 7 to 8 months. I really saw the writing on the wall that there was something bigger and better for me out there. And Star Wars had a big part to play into that. And I kid you not, I'm just being completely honest with you guys. Star Wars has literally changed and literally has saved my life like you'll never know. Because I do truly believe that there is an interconnected force that binds us all together, that there is a path that we are, I won't say chosen to walk, but there's a path for us to choose to walk if we so choose it. And I truly believe that path comes in many ways, shape, matters, and forms, but it's for us to really understand how does that show up. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, it's about first and foremost recognizing how we even show up in of itself. And Carol, glad to see you here too as well. And for anyone who would like to be able to join the call, all you got to do, whether it be on YouTube or on our LinkedIn channel today, just go click that link. It's already on both platforms, so click that link, and we would love to have you join the conversation today. Um, but like I said, everything comes down to choice, ladies and gentlemen. And the more I got really in tune to where I wanted to go, and yes, there was a lot of roads that I had to go travel to find who I really was. I may have taken 10 steps forward and 20 steps back. I may had instead of going straight, which people say a straight line is the easiest way to your next destination. But when you really think about it, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the only way. And sometimes it may not even be the best way for you. People might say, hey, you may have to go this straight way, but maybe the straight way is not meant for you at that given point in time. So that's why I truly believe the path that we choose is the one we choose at that given present moment. And see, when you think about the overarching path of our lives, there are many, many paths that we take. But how's that show up to us? And like I said, in today's call, I even asked, how do we know what our path is? Can others show us the path? And the question becomes, which path will we choose? And for me, it's just about allowing everything to come in. I truly believe in the gift, not only of invitation, but the gift of allowing. And Star Wars has taught me that you can just take things for what they are versus what they're not. and look at things a little bit differently than what others tell you should look at. Because everyone's going to have a different worldview in and of itself. And it's just like Obi-Wan Kenobi said in The Return of the Jedi, when Luke actually had his last moments with Yoda before he passed on and moved on and um, with the Force. Um, Obi-Wan said this to Luke. He said, Luke, many of the truths that we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. Um, because he was referring to how Luke found out that Darth Vader was his father. And then he said, so what I told you was true from a certain point of view. So when we have that certain point of view in mind, how do we understand then the path before us from that certain point of view? And how can we have a bigger viewpoint if we allow ourselves to have it? In the way that you can do that, again, it's not only through the power and gift of invitation, but it's also taking a step back and saying yes to everything else versus saying no. And here's why I say that. There were many, many, many months after my mom died that I actually had to, in some instances, if you want to call it hitting rock bottom, I had to hit rock bottom. But I had to get to that very low place to come out better on the other side of it. And a lot of us has to go through that. And it's just something we just have to. We don't know why it happens the way it does. Sometimes we can't even question the reason why it does. I mean, we can ask the question, well, why am I here? Why is this happening? Why is this occurring? I mean, we always go into that why. But what I've come to find out, though, ladies and gentlemen, is I looked at everything completely different after I really got my mind right. I got really focused on what really matters. And it changed me to such a degree that I said to myself, I'm going to have life happen for me versus to me. Because when you have life happening to you, you will either play the victim card or have imposter syndrome, or you feel like you're not worthy enough or have enough value or enough knowledge or this, that, and whatever that might be for each and every single one of us. But I just knew, though, ladies and gentlemen, that for me to become a better person, a better human being, a better, maybe a teacher, maybe an apprentice, maybe a master, whatever that might be, I need to really get deep into myself in finding what my path may end up looking like. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who say you can design your life. I get that to a certain degree. Absolutely. That is there. But think about it. Designing a life is probably completely different than trying to design a path. And the reason why is if we recognize the one thing and one thing alone that's literally the only guarantee that we have in life. There's only one guarantee that we have, which is change. Change is that constant, ladies and gentlemen. We can design and plan and do all these sorts of things in our lives that we have these certain things in mind, and these are the things we'll do. But most often than not, we don't recognize that change may come next week and say, oh, life is going to throw a curveball in here. So how are you going to show up to it and how are you going to react to it? Because you may say, I may want to end up starting my book next week, But next week might be the week I have to go fly cross country and see my mother when she gets married to her new fiance, and she wants me there, and I have to get on a plane and fly across halfway around the world. Those things happen in our lives each and every single day. There are things that we cannot foresee that is going to happen. And people are going to say, Chris, well, then how do we know the path that we're on may be the right one or the correct one or even the one at all? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be completely honest. Maybe we never know. But what we can take from starting on our path is having that hope and faith. The reason why I say that is I've learned in my journey through life that if I didn't have hope and faith in my life, I wouldn't be probably speaking to you guys here today or meeting a great number of you on LinkedIn or in other places and spaces on social media, because again, I was willing to say yes, and I put myself out there. But see, the path that I am on, I'm not questioning it because I'm going to say, well, why I'm on this path. Maybe the better question I need to ask of myself is, how can I get a lot of value out of it, create a lot of impact out of it, learn from it, and maybe learn from others who may have been on a similar path or a similar experience, or I call milestones literally the rest stops, so to speak, in the journey of our paths or our human experience. Call it what you will. When you think about when you get off the path, or just like on a highway, there's that exit sign that says rest stop here, turn here. We always, in one way, shape, matter, or form, have to get off the highway to recoup, rejuvenate, get in focus, and then get right back on the path. And that's to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, that's in every aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not. Those kind of stops along the way is there. Now, the one thing that we got to be really cognizant of, though, is if you do reach a milestone and you do reach a goal, so to speak, and everything like that, people kind of maybe get set in their laurels, so to speak, or get set in their ways and say, oh, I've made it here now. I'm at this place. I'm good and everything like that. But if you sit in one place long enough, what happens? You start getting stagnant. You become stationary. And I'm not saying being stationary is not a bad thing, because sometimes we do need to take time to rest and recoup and rejuvenate. And that comes to a place of being stationary or in a state of peace, so to speak, in everything. But if you let yourself become too stationary for a very, 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 very long time, and we all probably have been through this, especially before in our later years in life. If you don't keep your body in motion and everything like that, things stiffen up and you start to. It's like when you open up a door after 20 or 30 years, you hear that and that creaking sound. It's not what it once was. So you got to oil it a little bit and that kind of thing, and they'll go. You won't hear that creaking noise anymore. So there's kind of like a balance to everything that we do. And I recognized that balance in every movie that I saw. And maybe that path also incorporates this too as well. In the last movie of the Star Wars franchise, which is The Rise of Skywalker, for those who may or may not know what that really is all about, really it's about the letting go of the dark side from one character and embracing the light from another. And I'm not going to give any spoilers away in The Rise of Skywalker because I encourage you guys to go watch all of them. And I know some of them, you guys may end up saying some of the later movies were not as good as the first movies, and I get all that. I do. But I implore you, focus on the messages. I truly believe if you get focused on the messages, then you can probably overlook all those other things that other people tell you you shouldn't think about or really focus on and that kind of thing. Focus on the messages, and you probably start understanding Star Wars in a completely different way, like I had, and everything. But like I said, in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey was asked at the very tail end of the movie, her name. She's like, "My name is Rey," and this lady was asking her, "Rey who?" And she came back and said, "Rey Skywalker." Now, knowing if you guys watched the movie, you know where I'm going with this. Blood sometimes doesn't really determine family to a large degree. And even Luke Skywalker kind of said this much in the Rise of Skywalker. And you should watch that scene. That was a beautiful scene. So by blood, it really doesn't determine your family. What determines your family, in my estimation, because I actually have gone through this personally, is the people who really, truly love you for who you are, no matter what. Of course, there's going to be some people in our lives that we just hate what they do, and we can't get to a point of reconciliation with them. We can't forgive them. We can't let go of that anger, fear, and hate, because then that gets us to a place of suffering. Sometimes a lot of us can't let all that go. But see, I had to learn that I had a lot of that baggage that I had to let go. And the reason being is because you guys may or may not know this, but my maternal father left me when I was 3 years old, so I didn't even know who my father was. But I had to let that go. He had to do what he had to do. He had to go on his own path. He had to choose that for himself, and he had to do that himself. And I recognize that, and I forgave him for all that. I would have loved to have him still as my father today, but that's the way it is. And acceptance plays a big part of that too as well, because sometimes if we're not in one way, shape, matter, or form willing to accept what is, then again we get into that place of suffering. We get into a place of fear. We get into a place of hate. And sometimes it will literally consume us and will take you down that dark path forever will dominate your destiny. And I've been through that many times over. And it's like I had to say to myself for many, many, many years, I had to let go of that fear and anger towards my mother for taking her own life. I literally had to let that go because whatever was going on in her mind and what was going in her heart at the time that was leading her to say, life is not worth it anymore. It's not what I really need to do. It is not the place I need to be. I'm just going to end it right here. And she had to choose that. And I know some of you out there are going to say some paths that people take is a path of cowardice. I get that too as well. I do. Because there have been many times, and I'm going to be completely honest, I have taken many paths in the place of cowardice because I just didn't want to face up to the truth or the realization of what is actually there or what is. And I have to own that. And like I said, I truly believe, like I said, when we just allow ourselves to be free of all those things that holds us back, and we just start accepting things for what is. It's just like what the Jedi stand for. They're selfless. They're thinking about others. They don't carry attachments, even though in reality, that was kind of against the Jedi way, really, when you really think about it, because they were so set in their ways they couldn't see the forest before the trees. And that's where in the later movies we kind of see how the evolution of the Jedi really took shape, that where you could have attachments, you could embrace other things and everything. And of course, when it comes to the Sith, of course, deals with absolutes. It's either this way or that way. That's it. There's no middle ground. Um, and passion is the thing that really drives them to do what they do. But also, with that passion, also leads to other things too as well. If you let it blind you, um, it could be led to a place of jealousy, could be led to greed, could be led to a place of that you want that power. And if you have that power that you crave so badly, you don't know what to do next. And for me, I've never craved power. I don't want power. I really don't. But I know the power that I do have, I'd rather use it for good versus evil. So whatever power I do have or influence that I have over any one person on this earth, I'm just going to show up as who I am, nothing more, nothing less. I'm not going to sell them anything because I truly believe in this, ladies and gentlemen. The best sale that we can ever do, not only in business or in life, is the one we never have to do. And maybe when people start seeing that you do that on your path of life, that's who you really are versus what you do. And see, I truly, this dichotomy comes into play too as well. We always ask each other, is like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? But does anyone really ask you who you are? And that's why when we take a step back and look what other people are really truly all about, then maybe we can see why they may be on the path that they're on, and maybe what drives them to be on that path, or what their passion is, what is their purpose in life, or even their dreams. Or in turn, people are going to ask us, like, what is your dreams, Chris? And that's what I truly believe, ladies and gentlemen. Every path that we undertake is going to be uniquely different, again, because of that change. But again, we got to be cognizant and understanding enough how that shows up. What does that look like? What does that entail? And I kid you not, I truly believe that when people are willing to let go of everything and just say, come what may, I will show up to it the best way that I know how. Because I know the one thing is that one guarantee that we have in life is the only guarantee, really, is that change. But how I show up to it not only matters, but the way I even embrace that change probably is just as important and matters as well. Because sometimes a lot of people don't even embrace the change that happens for them, for or to them, or however you want to look at it. And for me, the way I want to embrace change, I want to embrace change for the betterment of not only myself, but for the betterment of other people. Because when I allow others to see that I am doing this not just for myself, I'm doing this for a larger end goal in mind, then people are going to pick up on that. Because again, I recognize there are two kind of people that we have to work with and cater to every aspect of our lives. Even our own family members are this way too as well. There are the high level people. They got to dot the I's, cross the T's. They even got to read the fine print on every single thing. And why they do that? Probably we will never know. Only they can answer that for themselves. And they really dug in deep and really answered that for themselves, or went to someone and says, "Hey, am I not being who I really meant to be?" and everything. But then again, there are those people too as well who also get life in a place of simplicity. That we just keep it surprisingly simple, and we just see it for again for what it is. And I truly believe that's what the Jedi kind of do. Um, in a lot of ways. But then again, I also see it from the Sith side of things, and that's why they say that they have everything in a place of absolutes, like this only this way or that way. That's it. There's no middle ground. But see, for me though, even in a place of simplicity, there can be a middle ground, or that you can create that place and space that you can grow and thrive within it. And the more that we are willing to grow and thrive within that, that's how I truly believe we could really move up in life. And I truly believe, ladies and gentlemen, there are levels to life. We all are, in one way, shape, matter, form, in a level. So, what does that level look like within our path that we take? Well, I recognize that's going to be uniquely different each and every single one of us. Because think about it, the way we get to that level of life is going to be, again, uniquely different to each and every single one of us. And I had to kind of go off topic here, even though we're talking about Star Wars, but this just hit me like a ton of bricks, but it just came into my mind this way. Is think about it like Donkey Kong to a certain degree. You know how Donkey Kong is, to where you have to go up this way, that way, go up this way and that way. But then again, you may end up having to say, oh, I got to go up here, this way, down, back over, up. And that's sometimes the way it goes, even when you're wanting to go to your next level of life within the context of even of your path. So again, like I said, there are so many paths within a path. It's not even funny. But yet, like I've said many times on these live streams, and I'll say it again, I just truly believe everything's interconnected to everything else. It's already there. So how can those paths be really interconnected? It's a great question. That path can be interconnected because maybe it's already connected, maybe by very design. How that plays out and why how has that interconnectivity shown up that way? It is. But but then again, have to bring another off-topic movie into this because it kind of shows up for me yet again. And it really will probably bring a lot of parallels into this. If any of you guys have seen the Matt Damon and Emily Blunt movie, and they even have Anthony Mackie in it too as well, who actually plays the new Captain America in the Marvel movies, is that there's this movie called The Adjustment Bureau. And what the Adjustment Bureau is all about is keeping people on their path. I highly encourage you guys to watch it. It's a phenomenal movie. But what happens with Matt Damon's character and Emily Blunt's character, and I won't give away all the beans, so to speak. I won't spoil the whole movie for you. But what it basically is all about, it's about, can humanity have a sense of free will? And at in the very tail end of the movie, you kind of see people actually do, because at the end, they're just, the Anthony Mackie's character will look at this thing and they see the path here, but everything is blank there. Like I said, I won't give too much away because you guys got to watch the movie. And like I said, go watch The Adjustment Bureau. Beautiful movie. But that's why I see when it comes even to the path, there are some things that we kind of know that we see right here, right now. But the beautiful thing about the path is, of course, the unknown. Well, how do we embrace even the unknown? Well, we embrace the unknown because we still recognize that one thing, again, is that guarantee, which is change. But how we show up to that change, how we embrace that change, probably maybe even will, one way, shape, matter, or form, influence or even dictate that future path into that unknown that we don't even see and know now. Because, like I said, in that movie Adjustment Bureau, that little iPad thing saw where they were, but they don't even see where they're now going, because when they crossed that threshold, they didn't even see where they were. So they didn't even know what path that they were on. So it's about realizing how you can actually take everything that's already there available to you, whether it be knowledge, whether it be insight. And I even bring this to the table too as well. It's like, how do we know there's even a pathway to clarity? Well, there is a pathway to clarity, and I truly believe it is not only a singular individual dynamic, but also it is a community and team dynamic as well. And here's why I say that. I forget who it was, but someone did mention that clarity is a community integrated dynamic. It is. And I have to go look that up, and I'll probably put it in the post here later. And if I can't find it, I will definitely research it and put it back later. But he said clarity, it is a dual dichotomy, that it is a singular thing that we kind of know what we know and everything, and we just know that this is what we are so clear on. But then again, if we surround ourselves with people who know what they know far better than us, then they can be able to say, oh, maybe this is how you can even become more clear. Now, mind you, now this is the thing too as well, going back to what I said about the high level people and the people of simplicity. Maybe the way we bridged all those two dynamics together is about recognizing that one singular place in space, which is um, that is the table of humanity. Um, so it's about recognizing that. And when you really think about it, you can tie everything together because of that, to where everything kind of is like in this one big, it's almost like if you want to create a great recipe for, let's say, for dinner or something, you got to have a little of this, a little of that, and you put it all in this pot. Bam, there you go. You have your great recipe. But what makes a great recipe for the path that we go on? Well, there are many stops along the way on that journey, is there not? So when you really think about it, maybe when you pull off to one rest stop and you talk to people and gain a little clarity and gain a little insight and learned a little something new today. And I implore you to even take this into consideration too as well. Is that if you are willing to say, if I can learn one new thing a day, then I had a productive day. I truly believe your life would be so much better for it, because then again, you're still doing things from the gift of invitation, the gift of allowing, the gift of receiving, the gift of giving, and everything in between. It just frees you. It really does. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, I've really lived by that. I really have. And the more that we do that in a collaborative kind of dynamic, then, and Jay, you might be right. I think the right path is the light side and the wrong path is the dark side. Yes, that is true. But then again, like Obi-Wan said, you can look at things from a certain point of view. But then again, that goes right back to about how do we create that balance? And of course, there was only, I think, in the Star Wars lore that there was one Jedi who mastered both light and dark, who could be able to be the balance they really needed to be. And that's why in Star Wars lore, not only is there the light side and the dark side, but also there's a group of Jedi called the Gray, which is actually the ones in the middle. But also there's another one called, if you ever watch Star Wars Rebels, which is that cartoon series on Disney Plus, or it was actually on Cartoon Network there for a little while too as well. Uh, uh, or was it Disney? I think it was Disney. Um, there's this race of beings called the Bendu. The Bendu was like the people in the middle. So the Gray Jedi can not only embrace their dark, but they can embrace their light and use them when they need it. But I think Luke really started to really kind of see that take shape, even in his own way of walking the path of the Jedi, to where he saw so many similarities between him and his father, because he had a cybernetic hand. His father was basically more cyborg than it was human, but still he kind of saw the similarities to it and everything. And but he knew how to embrace both sides. So I think he was kind of like the second person in the Star Wars lore that actually could actually have that true balance of light and dark. Because, like I said, in the Rise of Skywalker, you'll kind of see that in one of the scenes where you see this pool of water, and you see this one person sitting in a state of light and a state of dark. And it goes right back to that thing, you guys may have heard of it. It's like the yin and yang. And that's from a lot of the Asian culture kind of dynamic, to where there's always a yin and yang to everything. And and there is that, like I said, duality kind of thing. And when you really think about it, the question, and a lot of people probably will ask us, even is there a duality to our past? Yeah, there is. I truly believe there's a duality to our past. There absolutely is. And the reason why I say that is that we have that duality kind of dynamic in each and every single one of us, especially when it comes to walking the path of the light or the path of the dark. We have that duality, but we have to choose which one will do that. And it's just almost like I remember watching in Star Wars: The Clone Wars that the where Master Yoda said this best, where he said to where he was literally fighting himself, so to speak, because he was on this trial to find out how he could actually learn the ways of becoming a force ghost, so to speak. And he kind of said to his other half, I don't give you that power, meaning the dark side. I don't give you that power. And when you really think about it, that's there's a lot of truth into that of what we give or do not give to ourselves on the things when it comes to our paths. Sometimes we do give ourselves the power to give in to the dark side on something, but yet maybe not on something else. Or maybe we give so much of ourselves that we're so selfless for ourselves to a large degree that we really are wanting to help others in whatever shape, matter, or form that might be in their lives. So it is that duality complex, again, that's also still rooted in that one thing that's the guarantee in life, which is change. Change is that constant, ladies and gentlemen. It's there. And again, with that duality and that change in mind, then how do we know of which place do we need to focus on? And not only comes from you knowing what you not only can do, but are willing to do. And maybe it's what works best for you at that given point in time. And for me, I know I've made a lot of mistakes. We all have. And see, to me, I will go back to, again, Master Yoda, especially in The Rise of Skywalker, when he said this. He said, failure is the best teacher. And failure, ladies and gentlemen, is not a bad thing. It's a great thing because without failure, we wouldn't know success. We wouldn't know growth. We wouldn't know how to thrive. We wouldn't know what could we have learned new today that what we didn't know yesterday. So there's so many things that we can learn when we just open ourselves up and not only be vulnerable to ourselves, but maybe be vulnerable to others when we just simply allow that to occur. And I'm a big proponent of that. So, like I said, I was really looking forward to of a true, great, and engaging conversation with all of you of what your path may look like, and we may end up doing a part two. And for the ghost, for those who I invited who couldn't show up, there may be that part two that we'll have you on and doing that and everything. But like I said, I didn't want to take this up as a story of my journey of Star Wars, but it turned out to be that way. I'm okay with that. But it's about, again, just allowing life to happen, and it's going to happen for you versus to you. And it's literally a mindset shift when you say, I'm going to let it happen for me and not to me. Because again, if you want it to happen to you, you can play woe is me, play the victim card, feel like you're not worth of anything, you don't have any value, any significance, and then you only will do what you're going to do and why you're going to do it in and of itself. But my big takeaways when it comes to the path today is simply this: not only embrace the path and be the path, but let the path flow right through you like the Force does. Because the more that you just take it in as it is, and you don't, and again, I truly believe this is another thing that we will definitely hit on the next time around, is also we have expectation play a big part in every aspect of our life too as well, do we not? That even when we're designing our lives or designing uh, the places and spaces that we want to be in, uh, we set ourselves up for expectation to say, if we have this, that, and the other, and it's there, then I've designed my life very well. But then again, if it doesn't come to be, we get all twisted and contorted and feel like, oh my God, I'm not. Then you could have played in your mind the coulda, woulda, shoulda game and saying, oh man, now what do I do? I didn't meet this and didn't meet that. You go into all those litany of things. Don't let that detract you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let those things weigh you down and not let you go onto the path that you so choose. Not what others choose, yet others can maybe point you into a path and lead you into a path and might take a path with you, but you're the only one can take that path. Just like with the Jedi trials. The, the Jedi trials were meant to be done from a singular point of view. And if you guys ever watched again Star Wars Rebels, you know what I'm talking about. In that one episode to where all those Jedi were sitting waiting for their Padawans to come back. Why don't they come back? Maybe they lost their way. Maybe they didn't have faith that they would come back, or whatever the case may be. But I do actually also recognize too as well, even though a trial may be yours and yours alone, it's not just by yourself that you have to be focused on. I truly believe any trial that we undertake in our lives can be a collaborative dichotomy, and really one based in community that's based in unity. Because when we reach out to others and ask, well, have you been on this particular trial before? Or have this come about for you before? Or has this shown up to you in this way? That's how we gain insight. That's how we gain experience. That's how we gain knowledge. And we can, again, like the Jedi, they're willing to pass that on to future generations so they know what they should know. But then again, also, when you think about it, when it comes to the path, speaking of from a place of a master and apprentice kind of dynamic, think about it. Not only does the master know a lot and seen a lot and done a lot, but also that master can learn also from the apprentice. And also that apprentice may, in fact, in one way, shape, matter, or form, can actually be the master, could they not? They may not have the same level of stature and acumen as what a master maybe has, but maybe they have something that maybe a master has never come across before or never realized before. You never, again, not any one person on this planet knows every single thing to life or to the force or to anything. That's the beautiful thing about that, because we don't need to know everything. But what we should know is to know what we can know now, to know that one or two things that will get us to the next thing. And I truly believe in that. And again, like I said, it's going back to that thing that I said earlier about having that hope and faith. If you have hope and faith and they come knock on your door, are you willing to answer that call? And that's a big thing, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. Answering the call to knowing the path and walking the path is a big thing, because not a lot of us are willing to take that step through that door to get on that path. And what is that? It might be cliche to say it, but I have to say it because I truly believe it's apropos for right now. Again, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with a single step. But think about it, even when it comes to the journey of a Jedi. And I'll probably end it here. The journey of 1,000 lessons begins with the first lesson. I'll say that again. The journey of 1,000 lessons begins with the first lesson. And we all got to be open to that first lesson. Because if we're not open up to the first lesson, how are we going to be open to the second and third and fourth and fifth lesson? Because again, like I said, everything is interconnected to everything else. All of that is there. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time of watching today's live stream. I would love to hear your thoughts and insights. And there will be a part two to this because, like I said, for those who I invited who could not show up today, I will end up sending invites yet again. So we will do the path and have a deeply meaningful conversation, and maybe online and maybe offline. It could be a part two with split in two. It could be half online, half offline, whatever that might be. But I was really looking forward to having a lot more people here, but that's okay. But like I said, I was going to do a separate my story video, but this turned out to be, and I'm okay with that too as well. So there may not be a call tomorrow, so just be on the lookout for that. But come next week, there will be more calls coming and everything like that. So please follow my page here on. For those who are watching on LinkedIn, follow my page here on LinkedIn, and also our business page at Bringing Humanity Together. And for those who are watching on YouTube, please follow our YouTube channels, which is, of course, Bringing Humanity Together. And then the other one is Conversations for Humanity with Chris Berryman. We'll be changing that channel up soon. It will be just Conversations for Humanity. We'll be changing that up here down the road. But we would love to hear from you too as well. So from all of us here at Bringing Humanity Together in our Great and Growing community, and since, like I said, this is in celebration of Star Wars week, because, of course, May the 4th was on Sunday, and, of course, I totally forgot about it and I had to mention it today, and I'm glad I'm going to remember it, is that, of course, just 2 days ago was Revenge of the Sith. And for those who are really in depth and in scope of their Star Wars knowledge, Revenge of the Sith is actually an ode to Revenge of the Sith, because remember episode 3 is the last of the prequels, but when it comes to a fandom thing, they said, well, if there's going to be May the 4th, why not Revenge of the Sith? Because they do it on a play on words, like Revenge of the Sith. So that's where that comes from. So again, from all of us here, Bringing Humanity Together, we're looking forward to speaking and collaborating with all of you guys here very soon. So like I said, please follow my page and our business page here at Bringing Humanity Together. And if you want to be a part of our Great and Growing community, please message me or put a comment in the comment section on LinkedIn or on our YouTube channel today, and we'll get you some information to join our Great and Growing community here at Bringing Humanity Together. So you guys have a transformational Thursday. Make your day. May the force be with you all, and we'll see you on the next call very soon. Have a great day. Make your day, everyone.